why the world is on fire, why it's going crazy. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? The mystical answer is that there's two parts, the internal and the external. On the external, the world is going absolutely nuts, but it is closer and closer to redemption and to wholeness than it ever is. It's a cumulative process. And what happens as you get closer, so all the negative parts that are resisting scream louder. So I'll try to explain what that means, but that's so don't get nervous. But if you've noticed that things are crazy, you're normal. Anyone have any questions they want to start with?
Rabbi, I think something would be good to address is how do those of us who can really see what's going on not get discouraged, not feel like, wow, this seems to be so overwhelming. How in the world can Hashem sort this out? And it can be discouraging. Like, what do we need to do to encourage ourselves, to gird ourselves up, etc.? That would be an interesting topic. Okay.
Good. Well, and that really requires me to explain what I said before. What I meant that things are better even though they seem to be worse. Because if you understand that, then you could take this whole thing with a grain of salt, because that's not where the action is.
Right.
Do you know where the action is? The action's here.
Right.
The action's in your heart. The action is what you do. It's God knows everyone's heart and what people do and what they think. And the decision is individual. No person will ever be punished for somebody else. Now, it doesn't mean if you're in a bad place, you should stay there. You shouldn't. The problem is there's not many places left to go.
Right. Mars.
Mars, right. If Elon Musk gets into the cabinet, with Trump, then we may have a place in Mars, But,
right.
No, I'm not going to any place, So anyway, so let me start with something that a few things here. This is what I'm going to tell you now. I can't explain it. I can explain a little bit why America is destroying itself. I can explain that a little bit. And that would go for Australia too. That would go for that. Europe is very hard to explain. There's no explanation. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. What's going on in Europe? Let's just figure this out. First, I'm going to teach you an incredibly important Jewish law. This is a very, very important law. So this is the law. There is a law in Judaism. It's called Dina da Machus Dina. The law of the land is the law. You go to live in America, you got to live by the laws of America. You got to pay your taxes. You got to do your thing. You got to do what the law is. You go to Australia, you got to live by the law of the land. Well, obviously, if the laws of the land are against the Torah, the laws are you have to kill, you have to do this, you don't have to do that. You can't do that. But any law that is not a contradiction that you must do, okay, you need to keep the laws of the land. Now, what's the rationale? The rationale is, this is for Jews, and I'll tell you what it is for non-Jews in a second, is because if you don't want to keep the laws of the land, then get out. God gave everyone a land. 70 nations, everyone got their land. The Jewish people got their land. Everyone has their land. If I want to come live in your land, and I'm not keeping the laws, then leave. Okay. Now, why is America different? Because America wasn't founded like in Europe. People lived in Europe. Whatever the conquerors that conquered it, or however long back you're going to go. Because we don't have the 70 nations on their 70 lands right now. The world has been mixed up from the time of the Assyrian conqueror named Sanherib, where the Talmud says that at that point already, what was happening in the ancient world, they would conquer lands and they would move the indigenous people from one place to another. That's what they did. That's how they kept control. So what happened is that, but ideally everyone should have their land. Now America is different, and Australia to a degree also, because what happened was it was founded on an idea. There is no indigenous. Now there were indigenous people, which to be frank with you, as an American, they didn't treat them so good. They named the football team after them, which was very nice of them. But then they were forced to recant that also. So I don't know. But the audacity then of criticizing Israel, who want to live in peace with whoever's living in their land by when we settled America. I mean, I wasn't there, but there were indigenous people which they didn't treat so nice. Okay, fine, all right. So America then is founded on an idea, and the idea, besides for talking about the Native Americans, what that was, but the Americans that came and then said anybody could come. There is no native people here. It's not a homogeneous society; it's a heterogeneous society. Anyone could come and be part of it as long as you are part of the system. And what's the system? You have rights, and therefore you have obligations. You have rights, and therefore you have laws that you can't encroach upon someone else's rights. Okay, that's fair. Now, what's going on in Europe right now? And this is why I can't explain it to you, because they are blowing themselves up. I kind of explain why Americans, but Europe is literally Europe is literally going, and they are bringing in people that have a very different view of theirs. And the key part of their view you need to understand is not whether or not they think that this is bad or good. That's not the issue. I might think a lot of things that are being done in the country I'm living in are bad. But you want to be there, follow their rules. The people of Arabic descent that are coming into these countries, they don't share that idea. That's the basic idea of Sharia law. And if you learn anything about Islam, you understand that there are 3 names, I forgot the names in Arabic, 4 countries. I forgot the name of it, but one that's already under Sharia law, and one that's in the process, and one not yet. But the goal is that it should be functioning according to Sharia law. And from their perspective, okay, they understand this is the right thing they believe, and therefore their belief, as opposed to the Jewish belief, which is we don't convert people, and if we're in not the land of Israel, then you do what you do. Again, I can't support. I don't know that I'm sure I've said this before, but I heard from my rabbi years ago, it is halachically forbidden to vote for a Democrat. It is against Jewish law. What? Political? No. But there are laws of morality, and if you support abortion, if you support, gay marriage, whatever it is, as a legal binding obligation that the society says, then I can't support that. So I can disagree. Okay, fine, I could leave. But that's not what the Arabs do. The Arabs that are coming into England, they don't believe that if I disagree with your law, but my goal is to impose my law on your country. That for me as a person of Arabic descent, of Muslim belief, would understand that that's the goal. And for Americans or Westerners not to understand this is a little bit stupid. You should know what we're talking about here. And I say not every. There are many Arabs that come to a place like America because they don't want that. They really want to make more money and not to be living under an aristocracy. That is what they want. I'm not saying no. But there is a percentage. What's that percentage? That's a question. But you take 1 billion people, and whatever percentage is a lot of people. So I'm going to say something here, and I don't know if this is correct because I can't know this, but I can't understand the logic of why Europe is bringing in the people that are destroying their whole belief system. Can someone explain that to me? Now, you might have some reasons here, but I want you to, whatever you're going to say to me, I'm going to say to you like this. These are the same people that brought you the Holocaust. These are the same people that brought you persecution throughout Europe. That America was established to run away from this system. How is it it's crazy. It's the craziest thing in the world. And I don't know this is correct because I can't know this, but I think this is a punishment. It's illogical. I think God is paying them what they wanted, what they got. They wanted, it created this intolerance and things they did and destruction that they brought. They killed 6 million Jews and millions of people, and that's just the last 70 years. I mean, so Europe has got a very checkered past, and now they're going and they're bringing in people that are undermining their society. Why are they doing it? I'm going to open it up for questions because I don't want to come on to say, but could someone give me a rationale why the leadership in Europe is doing this? Anyone know? No, you're also baffled. No one's got an idea. We got a lot of smart people here. No one's got an idea why it is. Okay, so good. I feel better because it's illogical. Now, America is a little different. And this is what you really need to understand now. And this will be true for Australia, I think, too. But America's a little different because America was based on a concept, and that's spread throughout the world. Democracy is not a panacea just because you're democratic. Hamas was democratic left for the first time. Who knows what it is now? Because now they don't let them vote. But the idea that there would be a agreement in our country that we will protect people's rights and they're allowed to think differently, they're allowed to believe differently. It is in the Constitution, is the Bill of Rights. It is your freedom to act in the way that you think is meaningful for your life, as long as you do not impose on someone else, which we call breaking the law. So what's going on in America? Why are they doing it in America? And this is something very, very interesting. Very interesting. And when I want to give me a reason, what do you think? Why is America doing it?
Can I just say something on that?
Please.
Because I have spent hours trying to figure this out myself. But it seems that in a society, there's an element of society that have rejected the idea of God and levels of what I call biblical morality. And in the vacuum of that, they have to develop their own sense of mores. So they come up with these things that make them feel good. It just feels good to have compassion on all of these refugees, have them come in, all of these people from all over the world. We should have open borders because it's just a high moral idea. And it seems like they've developed this sort of fictitious moral parameters that is just upside down because it lacks godly wisdom. It's not fair to the people that they bring here. I mean, just everything in our country right now is based on feelings and emotions, not on facts and logic. And it's the only thing that I can think of is it's a lack of having godly wisdom. It's the only thing that I can think of.
Well, okay, it's certainly true. It's certainly true. I'm not going to argue with that. I'll elaborate on that in a second, but that has to be true, of course. So it's going to try to take that and give it some practical understanding of what's going on. So I hear it's a great point, Rod. Let me get back. So someone else had their hand up. Dan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, Dan did.
Dan, you had an answer or a question or a thought? I guess we.
Sorry, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just was looking something up. Just to add on to what Rod was talking about, I was just looking up the logical fallacy of the argument from intimidation. Basically, it's the way it functions, and its essential characteristics of that argument. It's a logical fallacy. It's an appeal to moral self-doubt, and it relies on fear, guilt, or ignorance of the victim. And this is what the woke liberal people do. And they try to bring up a moral point, but it's to question your moralities. That's the only way you give in to whatever they want to propose. And often it's I can't stand the behavior, but there are those people that use it regularly and they throw it in your face, and it's usually given in the form of an ultimatum that demands that you give up your idea without discussion under the threat of being considered morally unworthy. And so it plays up on your own sense of morality, and it's an erosion. It's corrosive. It's not just a logical fallacy as far as argument goes. It's corrosive on morals, and it becomes a social tactic used by the woke left to push their agendas and push their ways. And we've seen enough of it up here in Canada, and end up with poor street people demanding they own everything. It's atrocious.
Right. So, let's combine with the two of you said, and I think you're saying correct. I just want to add one piece to it, and this is why I say it's a little different in Europe. What's going on, because Europe, it seems that it should be obvious that with what's going on in places like France, where I don't know, by 2030 it's supposed to be majority Muslims, majority Arabs, who largely are those that would like Sharia law there also. In American Canada, it's a little bit different. So in Europe, it's inexplicable because they're shooting themselves, and everyone they're going to see they're going to lose their country. What's happening in Canada and America is and I think Australia too, to a certain degree, it's correct. There is the root of this, as I said to you many times, the root of wokeism is the same root of communism. Really? What's the root of communism? Well, communism was very, very much built on atheism. Because the idea was that God is not involved in this world. We have to make what we think is our utopia. Although everything's unfair. And therefore, up is down, down is up. Rich is poor, poor is rich. It's like today. Ugly is beautiful. This is that. Everything is the back, is upside down. Why? Because today it's also the woke movement is a very godless movement, like Rod said. It's the idea that we are going to be God. And who are we? We are Hollywood. We are entertainment. We are, you want to be this? You could feel you're this, and then you're this. Make a wish. Close your eyes, say, I think I'm a girl. And poof, you're a girl. It's unbelievable. It's great. It is a rebellion against that God has created certain parameters. Now, what happens is that the people, therefore, then they take that as their religious belief. It's a religion. It's a religion. And if you don't have that religion, you are destroying, you're bursting our bubble. What happens in America is, and this is what the amazing part is that the people in charge are not worried they're going to lose their power. That I find the most amazing thing. Like in England, I don't know what this prime minister I don't know how long he's going to last, but what that happens is like, okay, it's going to fall apart. But here, okay, we'll take 15 million refugees, we'll put them here, we'll stick them there. It's a big country, who's going to find them? We'll dump them in some Republican place and let them deal with it. But whatever they're going to do, but the people who are going to still dictate the thing, they kind of think they're still running the show. And largely they are. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was this idea of, I said, in Jewish law, even though there are many things that you say, wait, Jews have very strict laws about this. But if it's not contradictory to the law, if you're not forcing me to break the law, I got to keep the law in your land. And what's happening in Europe is they're bringing in people who that's not their belief system. They're doing that in America too. But the bottom line in America, what they're doing is that the foundational components of America, they wanted to build it, are what's being uprooted. And that's the most amazing thing. Who did this amazingly was, and very successfully, was President Obama. He was really good at it. How would you dealt with the Iranians? Well, besides just starving them out, which Trump was doing, and giving them no money, and then what would happen? What would you want to happen? If you had to think about how to deal with the Iranians, what would you do? Well, you don't want to, war is a difficult thing. If you could do it without, so you would starve them out, isolate them, and have no money to support terrorism. And then what you really want to do is to have the people stand up and say, we are not going to take it. Because every nation is responsible for their own thing. And when that happened, Obama did not, he didn't help at all. It's unbelievable. You have to understand what's going on now. From the time of President Obama, really. Because what happened was, America, I'm not revealing anything we don't know here, but they do coups all the time. Right? They got rid of the Russian, favorable Russian government in Ukraine. They overthrew that. Everyone knows that. So how could they not help the Iranians who were trying to throw off the yoke of the Ayatollah? How did they not help them? Come on, you couldn't help them? I don't think President Obama wanted to help them. Now, why not? Why not? Now I'm going to get a little bit more risque, if you don't mind. So I saw this. Alan Dershowitz asked a question, and not that I'm an Alan Dershowitz fan. I'm not. Because he's a smart Jew again who is not doing what he has to do. But he's a smart guy, and he has a certain level of honesty. He's one of the few people that were on the liberal side who have said this is all a farce, which is pretty impressive. And they came after him. So you gotta applaud a person when he does what's right. But he asked the question, I just saw it today. He said, why do the African Americans and the Jews, why is there this split? The Jews are the ones who, like, in the civil rights movement, were like completely together. They were completely involved with that, and that's why the Jews traditionally voted Democrat, because the underdog, the outsider. Well, why is it so bad now? And he had an interesting idea. And this doesn't only go for African Americans, but it goes to a certain woke culture of the idea. He says, this is what his theory was, the idea of DEI is completely contrary to a meritocracy. And he says, I couldn't believe he said this, but he said it, it's true. so people get on, whatever. Tim Walz gets on my white privilege. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's your thing. I know I didn't have white privilege. I mean, you know, I know that. I know that. When I was a little kid, I got beaten up because I was wearing a kippah. I know that. I remember when I was 14, I was walking down the street. This is a great story. Just share a story with you. Walking down the street, I was 14 years old. I don't know. I think I was wearing a kippah. I think I was. My friend certainly next to me was wearing a kippah. My friend Aaron, and we're walking down the street, and all of a sudden, like he keeps like doing these weird things. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "The guy behind me keeps knocking off my kippah, knocking his yarmulke off." So I turn around. This is a big guy. We were 14. There's a 20, 22-year-old guy. And he's knocking them. I go, what are you doing? You're a big shot? There's a 14-year-old kid. What are you doing? So he says, "You're going to do something about it?" So I said, I'm 14 years old. You're 20 years. So his little brother comes and goes, "I'm 14 years old." And he pushes me. So I go, "Okay, I can handle a fight with a 14-year-old. So I go to punch him, and as I go to hit him, the big brother grabs me from behind, and he starts choking me, and he throws his foot, starts kicking me in the head. He's kicking me in the head. And my friend Aaron is like, he's a little kid, but he's like dumbfounded, All right, he doesn't kill me. I'm bleeding. He's kicking me on the head. And then the guy leaves. All right. Now, that's not the good part of the story. The good part of the story is I haven't seen my friend Aaron like in 20 years. This happened when we were 14, and then I hadn't said. Then I saw him years later. He says, "I want to tell you something. I never forgave myself for not helping you there." I said, "What are you gonna do? I didn't expect you. What could you do?" It's nice. I always felt terrible. He said, and then one day I was in the subway in New York, and this big guy comes over and says, give me your wallet right now." So I'm on the subway. This guy was twice my size. And I looked at him, and I just remembered the scene when we were 14 years old. And I hauled up and I punched the guy in the face. And he went down, the train doors opened, and ran out. So there is redemption. So I don't, yeah, good for you, Aaron. Yeah. So I don't know what white privilege is talking about. I don't know. Okay. So, but what happens is that the idea of America right now, which was a meritocracy, and Jews didn't have any advantages. When Jews came here in the 1900s, they couldn't work on Shabbos. And there was a famous statement in the 50s. They said to you, if you can't, you don't come to work on Saturday. They didn't offer work on Saturdays in the 40s and 50s, 30s. If you can't come to work on Saturday, then don't come in back on Monday. And so observant Jews couldn't function. They were fired from week to week. But all the persecution is now. All right, but they use their gifts. They use their mind, they use their dedication, they use their thing. And now the DEI system has nothing to do with meritocracy. Nothing to do with meritocracy. We have to have the equal thing. And that is the real key in what's happening in America. That the new woke movement, with all of its atheist underpinnings, is a complete reversal of what the ideal was of America. It's completely opposite. It's really an anti-American system. That's what Alan Dershowitz said, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI means that when you want to get on an airplane, it's more important that the pilot is of a underrepresented minority, then he knows how to fly a plane. Think that one through. Okay? Good to see you, Jacob. Okay. So all right. So that's what we have to understand what's going on right now. Okay. Now, the question that Rod asks is, how do you not get depressed about this? How do you get depressed about this? I'll tell you something. I want to make this clear to every American out there, and you should hopefully hear what I have to say. If you vote for Kamala Harris right now, you get what you deserve. Because if you're that stupid, you're gone. I mean, please use a little bit of the thing that's between your two ears. You understand all along what her belief system was. You just watched 4 years of it. You've seen 15 million people come in. You've seen inflation. 20% is not what it is. It's a lot more than 20% for anyone who buys anything. So the whole system is insane. It's insane. The Inflation Reduction Act that just gave money out like it was candy, like someone needs to go learn economics there. If you start printing money, you're going to have inflation. I mean, what do you think? So but what happened, the craziest part about it is that you go now and you have this woman who is with Biden, and they said she is the worst. Everyone hates her. She's Biden compared to her is the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, yeah, Karen, right. So then what happens is the media says, "Wait a minute, forget everything you saw. That's not what's happening. She's Camelot. Yay! She is the most moderate." And then, right, as Karen said, Trump puts out like, "No, this is what she says." Okay, but she starts walking it back. But then she picks Tim Walz, the guy who watched his state burn, And so if you don't realize, if the people can't understand, then they're going to get what they deserve. And that's a problem. That's what Rod's asked me. How do you not get depressed about that? And the answer to that is what I said to you in the very beginning. We have to make our effort. We have to make our effort. You got to talk to people. You should vote because that's the system. That means that you show I'm against this. It's in Jewish law. There's something called a machal, which is a protest. When somebody says something wrong, I need to go and take a stand. I cannot tolerate if you did something wrong. You said something wrong. I say I cannot condone this. You do what you want to do. That's your thing. I might not have the ability to control you, but if I'm sitting in a room and somebody says something bad about someone else, I'll say, listen, I want to say that I don't subscribe to that. No one else should believe that because I think it's a wonderful person, and I don't think we should engage in talking badly about people. That's called making a stand. Your vote is making a stand. I don't support this. I support the opposite. Again, not that everything in the Republican Party is in lines with Torah. I'm not saying that, but it's light years away from the opposite right now. Okay, so fine. So you need to vote. You need to try to make your influence, but you need to understand in the end that the process of the world coming to perfection is in full swing. It's in full swing. It is so close. Why doesn't it look like that? So I was telling you at the beginning of the session. Because there's a rule. It's a spiritual, it's a very deep Kabbalistic rule, but there's a process where there's something like, if you imagine an internal system, like let's say, a soul in the body. So there's an internal system, and there's what you see on the outside. And sometimes what you see on the outside doesn't look as good because you're getting close to the time where it's being fixed. And therefore, the last remnants of that negativity are screaming really loud before they disappear. It's like the darkest hour is always before the dawn. That's what happens. That's the way the system is built. So how do you feel better? By understanding that God will judge you based on what you do, what you say, and what you do. And you have to make a stand. I do not participate in this. I do not support this. I can't do anything about it now. Okay, I'm going to try to. And I hope they do, because they really need to. They really need to. I think that, but again, it's there's two different systems going on here. There's two different systems, and I don't mean to be confusing, but there's two different systems going on, and that's what confuses us. There's one process of what we do, what we need to do. Another process that you do what you're going to do, and God's going to bring it out to where it has to be. I give an example in my book, which I'll share with you. It's a very important example. I said, imagine there is a governor of a town, of a city, whatever, kind of state. And he divides the land into 3 parcels. And he says he gives the 3 people, he says, listen, your mission is to grow the economy in this state. Okay. First guy takes his parcel of land and he plants and he grows and his trees and his flowers and his vegetables and he makes it great. Wonderful. Second guy brings in sheep and cattle and they graze. He's got milk and he's got cheese and he's got meat. The third guy says, I'm not doing any of this stuff. He takes a pickaxe and he starts to destroy the land, trash it. Now I want you to imagine for a second, if this governor was omnipotent, let's say he could do whatever he wants to do, what would he do with the person trashing the land? So your first response might be, well, he'll make it that as soon as he goes back, he has a heart attack. Oh, no, that's not so good. That's not so good. Because what that does is, okay, so he's strong and you're stronger. Okay, that's not God. God is not bound by his rules at all. So what would, for example, what would an omnipotent governor do in this case? He would take the guy who's trashing the land and he would make it that there is an oil spring right where he's smashing. And the oil comes out. And this guy just went and he just got exactly to the goal. But he's going to jail. Because the governor says, yeah, I did what I wanted here. I wanted to build the economy. I said, well, I did it. I smashed the land. I drilled it. I got the oil. Yeah, that wasn't your intention. But I can do what I want to do. So the omnipotent governor in this example goes and makes it that in spite of what the guy is doing, the guy gets punished for what he's doing. So the world moves towards perfection. That's what's happening. These people are yelling and screaming. As I said to you before, I think Europe is blowing itself up. I think it's really part of the process. I really do. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a prophet, and I don't know. But I do know. I mentioned before in the book of Daniel, the horns of the animal that represents this monstrous animal that represents the last kingdom of Rome, of Edom, has 10 horns, and it expands, and then they get uprooted, and that's the Western world. So are they, blowing themselves up? They well may be doing that. But again, Stephen, you're in England, right? Okay, I want to hear from you what's going on there. But you got to be careful because your prime minister doesn't allow us to speak. He's coming after everybody. But you got to know something. But it doesn't change you as an individual. God it says in the Medrash, whether a person is Jewish, not Jewish, male, female, black, white, up, down, whatever it is, it goes by what they do. So your country might be finished, but you do the right thing and you'll get rewarded. That's right. America, I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen to anybody. I hope it doesn't happen to anybody. Because the bottom line is that I've said to you many times, it says God waits for the evil person to repent. He doesn't. Lo yachotz b'mos hameis. God does not want the death of the dead. I mean, the death of the dead. They're dead already. Yeah, there are people that are dead. In their mind, they're dead. In their souls, they're dead. But God wants them to come alive. So yeah, so God wants them in England to come alive, and Arabs also. I mean, Arabs also. Arabs, the Arabs think once they get it, it's going to be good. Once they understand, get with the program. And by the way, and it's amazing because I just have so much. The corruption is so great. I mean, Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize for being president and being an African American. I guess I don't know what. Like he went in the first day and the next day he got a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know what he did. Trump made peace between the Jews and the Arabs. That schnook. He's a mean guy. He's not nice. Mean. He makes fun of people. Okay, yeah, maybe I hear your problem, but literally that's what he did. He said. He did I remember when he was saying he has a plan for peace in the Middle East. I was like, that's ridiculous. I really didn't think of it myself because I was thinking in the box. He was thinking like a businessman who knows how to make a deal. He wrote the book. So what did he do? He said, why am I dealing with the terrorists? Let's go around them because the Saudis want to live well. These guys want to live well. Their problems were with the Christians much more than the Jews. You guys don't realize that. Who fought in the Crusades? It was the Christians against the Muslims. The problem was they both killed the Jews on the way. Okay. But we don't believe it's an accident. We understand that God runs the show. We know all about that. Ukrainians and the Russians. Oh. Which one killed more Jews? I don't know. Was it the Cossacks? Was it the Tsar? I mean, they're good people. These guys have been killing each other for years. They're killing each other. They're killing us. Okay. It's all a bunch of lies. It's all not real. But Trump went around the whole thing. He said, listen, I'll make peace on these terms and isolate the terrorists. It was a very brilliant idea. But did they get recognized? No, they didn't. So what happens is that I don't know if Europe has hope. I don't know if America has hope. I don't know if Canada has hope. I don't know. I know in the end, all of the nations, all of the kingdoms, they will be taken down before the Mashiach comes. That's in the book of Daniel. It's very, very clear. That's in the vision that the dream of Nebuchadnezzar that Daniel explains. And he sees the statue with a gold head, Babylon, and then the silver chest, and that's Persia, Media. And then he sees the bronze thighs, and it's Greece. And then he sees the legs are made out of iron, and that's Rome. And then the feet are mixed with iron and clay. And that represents Rome and the Islamic power, the Islamic caliphate. And the feet can't get together because they have different opinions. That's hate the Jews but you hate each other more. So what? Okay. And then in the dream, then the little rock goes and smashes the whole thing, and it falls down, and the rock turns to a giant mountain. So now, but how does that have to happen? Does it have to happen in a negative way? We don't know. Is there hope for Europe? Yeah, there's hope for everybody. Will Europe get saved? I don't know, because it's illogical to me why they're blowing themselves up. That I can't understand. America I can understand because these guys still think that they're controlling the numbers. They don't see it yet. They kind of see that what's happening is that, okay, we'll bring in 20 million. They'll vote for us. We'll look, and they don't say, but in the streets of England, France, you see it. The numbers are that you will be in a minority to Arabs who, again, I got nothing against Arabs per se, but if the Arab believes in Sharia law and he's in your land, he does not hold that he must hold by the laws of your land. You're not very smart for bringing him in. I mean, it's the same thing like in Israel. I'm like, we don't have a problem with, someone asked me this last week, can a ger toshav, can a non-Jew who accepts the Noahide laws in times of Mashiach, and really this was for years, this was like this, live in the land? And the answer is yes. As he live in the land, he has to accept this is the land of the Jews, and he has to keep the 7 Noahide laws, he has to be righteous, and he has to accept the sovereignty of the Jewish nation here. And so, but if you live in the land of Israel and your goal is to destroy it, that's an impossible situation. That's why this whole nonsense of how to deal with the Arab nonsense, it's impossible. Well, what can you do? We want to destroy you. Let's have peace. Give us more land. Why? Give us more land. But you still want to destroy me. Yeah, but if you give me more land, I have a place to shoot my bombs from. Do you hear what's going on here? It's literally what's happening. It's land for peace. But wait a minute. Your charter says, and you've trained all of your kids that your goal is to kill every single Jew. So what is giving you Gaza going to do? We gave you Gaza 20 years ago. It's a farce. But here, guys, and I'm sorry, I'll get this question in a second. But again, this is why I have to tell you, the Israeli government does not necessarily function by, according to the morals of the world. I guess they're more moral. They make sure not to, to twist themselves into a pretzel, not to hurt anyone, even though they're being used as human shields. And even those people themselves support the terrorists. Is that what they should do? I don't know. You guys didn't go ask the rabbis. You're doing what you think you're doing. But this is the reality. So what happens is that we have to understand that Europe may go down. It's possible, but even if it does, Stephen, you do the right thing, and you're dealt with as you, not as what happens there. America, will that go down? I don't know. I do happen to think that, yeah, I think Trump's probably correct. If Kamala gets in now, I don't think it's recognizable. I think you probably passed the point. Again, Argentina, it's an Argentina story, so maybe someone will come out and say, but who knows? I don't know. Again, I feel bad because I'm American. I was born in America. I have a lot of good feelings towards it. I wanted to, and also I want every person. I want every single person, Jewish, not Jewish, Arab, Christian. I want every single person to focus, get themselves together, serve one God, do the mitzvot, live in harmony, and serve God, and be part of this great reality God created for us. I don't want anyone to. But if the people are going to dig their heels in and be against it, that's going to be the problem. So how do you take comfort? Rod asked me. It's very simple. Very simple. You just know that all of this noise, all of this chatter, all of this screaming is the evil burning out. When you throw a ball and you bounce the ball, at the end, when it's like going at the last minute, bounces all those millions of little bounces because it's just wearing out, it's fizzing out. So the evil is fizzing out. They're yelling and screaming more, and you want to pray for the people of the world to see the lie. If they can't see it, eventually we will. Eventually everyone will see it. Eventually, everyone will see it. How, what, where? I don't know. I don't know if it'll come through an easier way or harder way. The that God is directing how He's going to bring it about, and the actions that we have to do are the catalyst that is from our perspective. So I wouldn't get depressed about it. I remember one time I was living in the States, and I called my brother years ago, and there was stuff going on in Israel. They had just like gotten kicked out. The prime minister was a real character, and they kicked him out, and they jailed him, whatever. I don't know. Everything was going crazy. I remember I was in America listening to the news. It's terrible. It's terrible. Our brother says, what's going on there? He goes, oh, it's great. It's great. Everything's falling apart. It's great. You just see God's running the show. It's not this guy. It's not that guy. It's not this. It's not that. It's none of that. And this is hard. Like, you want to go and vote for the right people. You want to try to make your effort that the election is not, you can't say the big lie, but there's no funny business in the election. So you want to make sure that you try to do that. They're trying to do that. But in the end, whoever you're going to get is part of God's plan. And that's not a fatalist statement. But there's a system in the world. And if most people tilt this way, it can go this way, that way. But either way, it's going to get you. You're going to smash that. They're going to try to smash that earth, and they're going to hit oil. They're going to say, "Yeah, thanks for the oil." Now throw the guy in jail. Okay. Any other questions, comments, and ideas?